today's episode, we're going to give you a tour of a typical Spanish garden. Please do ignore the beautiful sprawling Spanish villa behind me. It's not about that, it's about the plants and the flowers. This is our Spanish garden. So Fred, tell us, where are we and what are we doing here and what are you going to show us?
Well, today, this is our friend Nick's house that he's renting.
Nick?
And he rented it for about a year.
For a year, till September. And this is the first overnight you guys are doing.
Yeah, that's it. We're gonna walk you around the garden and show you some of these trees and plants that they have.
Good thing about this villa is that it's been around for a long time. So most of the plants that we're going to see are actually full-grown versions of the little garden variety we get in garden centers. So, Mr. Bloy, over to you.
Our first one is this, which looks like a banana tree, but it's actually the birds of paradise tree. It looks like a mankial flower, but that is the bird of paradise plant. So this is how big they get if you leave them. Yeah. So the one you buy in the garden center for like 20 euros, $20 or whatever. This is how big they'll get if you buy a big enough pot. And here we have no flowers on it at the moment. This is a jasmine. There's no flowers on it because now we're in winter. And it'll be summer jasmine, which is the jasmine officinalis. You get two kinds of jasmine here: the summer jasmine, which flowers in the summer, and believe it or not, winter jasmine, which
flowers in winter.
Flowers in the winter.
And they're the same flowers, or the same?
No, it's a different species. I can't remember what it's called, but it's a different one. It's a different plant. These, I prefer these. This is more their standard. So what some people do, which I do, is I have both together, so that I always have jasmine growing in the winter and summer.
There's a trick. There's a trick for you.
Moving swiftly over here. This one here, I have no Scooby-Doo what it is, but we're gonna look it up and let you know. It kind of looks like something you could eat, doesn't it?
Yeah, that is very cool. It looks very Jurassic. It looks prehistoric, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The leaves are huge. Look at that.
I just feel like I could put that in a salad and eat it, but we'll find out what it is and let you know.
If you have to say maybe the 2-3 most common plants you get in Spanish gardens, which one would you have to say?
I would say you'd have, like flowering, it'd probably be your geraniums. Or gitanillas, which is another variety of geranium that is more for like hangs down.
And there are some in this garden.
And then the climbing variety, jasmine is very common, as is the Bouganvilla, which we'll see as well. There's a small specimen and a bigger one.
I'd say Bougainvillea is a one.
This is the jade plant. Again, normally you see these. You buy a specimen about a third of this size. It costs you 100 euros easily. So, but they take a while. They flower at this time of year, but even the little stalks here are kind of succulent. It's also a succulent plant. I think it's from the crassula family. Cool. And you can pretty much ignore these, and they'll just live along. In fact, when we bought the apartment that I live in, the woman had died years earlier, and there was one plant in the patio, just one, that hadn't been watered for years, and it was one of these.
They're also called money pennies, aren't they?
Yeah, I hear people say that. Yeah. And behind it, we have another jasmine. Again, like I say, it's winter, so you're just seeing the trim back. They do a very heavy prune on the jasmines in the winter, on the normal jasmine. You'll see these sort of dried stuff everywhere on a lot of the walls.
So there's not much color going on. There's a tall green, but there's no plants, there's no flowers. There's a lot of plants, sorry, but there's no flowers, right?
Hardly.
Can you just tell me what the hell is tickling the back of mine?
It's a spider.
What the hell is this? I mean, it's very nice, but it's very annoying. What is it? You know?
This? I like to think of this as tree. I don't want to bore you with specifics. In Spanish we call this el árbol. And here, this is kind of cool. This is a variety of rosemary, which is like crawler. You can either hang it or it crawls along the floor. As you can see, it's not upright. And it's the same thing. You can cook with it. You cut little pieces off.
I mean, it smells delicious. I wish you could smell it.
It's actually for me, it has a stronger smell than regular. Yeah. I find it hard to keep at home though, for some reason.
And it's something not everybody knows, that you have more than one variety of rosemary.
Yeah, I'm sure there's even more, but these are here what you see is the standard one you see in the show that you have for your home cooking. And this type, that's what you see in Spain. I'm sure there's other varieties.
Yeah.
And
But they all smell the same. They all smell like rosemary, which is also pretty cool. For people like me who don't know anything about plants, it's pretty cool. Yay!
So Bert, this is the one I was saying that is the Lantana that you normally see the Spanish flag colors on.
All right, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the Malagueño flag, the Malaga flag, yeah.
No, the Spain ones is like like orangey red and yellow, like this. These look a bit manky, to be honest. I don't know what. Maybe they're slightly different variety. I think they have this over there. You see over there? But next to the left.
Oh, right. Okay. So
yeah.
the yellow color when they're yellow, because obviously this is purple.
Yeah, it's they have different colors. It tends to be purple.
Right. Okay.
There's
I see what you
the
mean.
Spanish flag ones. There's yellow ones. There's white ones.
You see the local flag, which is the Malaga flag where we live, is actually green and purple. That's the official.
Ah,
colors.
right, which would be this color.
That's right. Yeah. That's why I thought.
Yeah, but this one seems like it's a slightly different variety because the leaves are a little bit less prickly normally. Yeah,
They look
does
like
look like mint. Yeah, and you get these little black berries when they finish flowering, which are very poisonous. So if you ever come across these, you could eat them. And this is from our episode the other day, cacti.
Cacti,
See?
yeah.
This is what they look
Now
like.
this is one cactus. It's not.
Yeah,
Cacti.
this is one cactus.
Get your plurals right.
Yeah, but it's lost all its little thorns. You notice?
I have, yeah. So,
It doesn't-
that means that not all cacti have thorns.
Well, this has thorns normally. If you look, there's a little bit out here, grow fresh bit growing,
Okay.
and there was little tiny, horrible little thorns.
That's amazing, huh? Because the whole thing looks pretty much dead, and
Yep.
yet you have little tiny bits of
I mean,
life coming out of it, right there on the
yeah,
floor.
I mean, look at this. It's like this is
Yeah, man.
not how you imagine a cactus to look like. But,
Did you make tequila out of this?
no, that comes from the blue agave cactus. Here's a very typical plant you see in a Spanish garden, which is the bog standard
Geranium?
geranium.
Ah, I got it right. Come on, yeah.
You got it right, man.
But there's no flowers, so.
Well, there's some little buds here.
Alright, okay.
I don't know if this is true or not, but I've heard that the ones that have like a slightly darker ring on the inside here, do you see it slightly there?
Oh, yeah.
Are supposedly a better specimen. I don't know if that's true or just
variety, better genes.
more sought after or something. That's what the garden center was telling me.
So where were we?
Oh, this is good.
It's good, isn't it? Yeah, there's what's a very typical Spanish plant that you find in gardens everywhere.
Bougainvillea, we say.
There you go.
Lengua de gato.
Lengua de gato.
That's a curcumin.
That one there. Little one in a pot.
Moving on.
Strange. It's an old piece you can see that's rooted. It's actually been trimmed to the hell. So normally you have them burn all the way. They just get really uncontrollable and they're a little bit thorny, and they're very, very pretty when you get a big bunch of like the bright color hitting the sunlight. But they're a little bit of a pain in the ass to actually keep control under because they just grow.
They just grow
They just
everywhere,
grow, and
Yeah.
so this is quite nice.
Do these ones need a huge pot, or can, like, say this one in this pot, will they be able to propagate the whole and cover this whole wall?
Normally, to be honest with you, normally in a garden they go in the ground.
In the ground, right? Yeah, well, that's right.
You would only really put them in a pot if you were trying to keep it small. So most plants will be limited by the size of the pot, which makes me come to another one, which is a very typical Spanish house plant and garden plant, which is the mother-in-law's tongue. We all know that one, don't we?
Mother-in-law's tongue, yeah, which is right there in the corner, behind the dogs and the children.
So
to
over
the
there,
corner.
that way,
That way.
The
Sansevieria trifasciata.
Yeah.
This is it. Mother-in-law's tongue.
These are the ones that are generally indestructible. One don't you know I'm seeing right here, which is just not going to help it at all, even though it's hard to kill, is it's sat in a pool of water. And these guys don't need a lot of water at all, and they want fast draining soil. You see how it's kind of a little bit faded?
Yeah.
Probably had a little bit too much direct sunlight this summer, and that's why it's like that.
But still growing, yeah?
Still alive, but like I say, it's hard to kill these guys. This is the same point I was making earlier, right? So it's the same plant, pretty much the same sort of pot. But this one looks a little bit darker and healthy, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Because it's not getting quite as smashed to pieces by the Spanish sun as that one is. It's all a little bit on the, for me, maybe it's scruffy. You know,
Scruffy, yeah.
untrimmed, you know, leaving dead leaves. This stuff you should just trim it off, just for aesthetic purposes.
So, which reminds me, stay tuned for our upcoming episode on landscaping, because Mr. Blow here is an expert landscaper. He'll give you incredible tips on how to make a beautiful garden out of little resources you have with a few plants you have. Right?
Am I?
This
This is cestrum nocturnum,
cestrum
known as
nocturnum.
Dama de Noche. It produces white flowers in the summer, and they're really sweet smelling. You either hate it or you love it, don't you?
Exactly. Yeah.
Here, Bert, since you're the wealth of the
That's a car and another car. This, I would say, is the second variety of rosemary because it's not creepy crawly. This one's standing erect right up, just like your mother said, and it smells just like the other one. Anyway.
Yeah, this is the more common one you see. They get very woody, and then when you prune this for cooking, you want to take it where you see it's not got the bark where it's wood colored and instead of white. You want the young shoots is what you want for ideally for cooking rather than the woody bits. Not just because it's more pleasant, but it means it doesn't screw up the growing. Nothing like a good glass of straight gin in the morning to get you in the mood for plants.
Just by the way, after coffee. Nice gin.
This one is boring, and boring. We're not going to waste any time on those. Right. Here we have a very beautiful,
This is very cool.
bird of prey flower. It's called bird of prey because supposedly it looks like a bird with its wings flying.
Bird of prey or paradise?
Bird of paradise. Not prey bird, Jesus. It's the huge one we saw right at the beginning.
Oh, serious? This is the same plant.
This is what you would recognize if you buy in a shop.
Ah, wow.
Yeah.
Right. Actually, now that you say it, I have seen those flowers on
But
those
the
trees. but I
flowers
just
on
never
the flower on that tree there is about that big each.
They really are beautiful. And now I see another staple of a Spanish garden, or Spanish countryside, Spanish landscape, the olive tree. Follow us. Man. Shh, be very quiet because they scare easily.
They don't like sound. They like it quiet.
Here it is. It's actually cool because it's in full bloom. All the olives are ripe. They haven't been picked.
One thing that I realized not a lot of people really know outside of Spain is that the difference between a black olive and a green olive is the black olive is a ripe green olive.
Exactly.
Same tree.
These were green a month ago.
Yeah, and then as they ripen, they go black.
They go black. Another tip, even though they're ripe, don't even think of trying to eat one because they're horrible.
Yeah,
They're incredibly
they
bitter.
need to be cured. So you can't kind of get to a big tree and like cherries and go just binging.
Stay tuned for a special episode on how to cure and eat these little babies.
Sponsored by Bertolli Olive Oil. And so now I think what we should do is just find out a little bit from Nick's girlfriend Terete, find out a little bit about this house.
That's true.
Because she used to come here when she was a young girl.
Yeah, and it's quite interesting. Now that we've talked about the plants, let's talk about the house. The house is quite nice, after all. Shall we?
So Terete, even though you guys are renting this from your cousin, is that correct?
My aunt,
Your uncle.
aunt and uncle.
But this isn't any old house, is it? This is a house that you spent a lot of time when you were young, correct?
Yes. Well, I came to live in Malaga when I was 3 years old.
From where?
From Sevilla.
Ole.
Ole.
That's what they do.
And since then, we moved there to those buildings there. My mom, my brother, and I. And at that time, in this house, were living my aunt, my uncle, my two cousins in the upper floor, and then my grandfather and my grandmother in the lower floor. And then, like 2-3 years later, my grandmother died, so I don't really remember her very well. But I remember that I didn't like her. I didn't like her
You didn't like the house? Or?
No, my grandmother.
Oh, you didn't like your grandmother?
Because she me regañaba, no?
She told you off all the time.
Yeah. So I don't remember like what I don't have any recuerdos? Memories of my grandmother. But then with my grandfather, I've grown till I was like, I don't know, maybe 14 years old.
And you would come to this house often to visit?
And we were always weekends. We were here. All the holidays, we were here with my grandfather, and my school was there at 5 minutes walking. So the afternoons when we finished school, we came here
to swim in the pool.
To be with my grandfather. Yeah.
And your uncle and auntie, they built this place, correct?
Yep.
In the 1980s, did we say? Early 80s? More or less?
Lately 70s or early 80s. Yeah.
And we've done a tour of the garden. Has the garden, as far as you remember, always been like this, or have there been big changes over the years?
At the beginning, this terrace, it wasn't here. And also this fence for the swimming pool, that's new. But yeah, more or less it was like this.
So
the furniture was different.
The trees, etc. Do you remember
the
them all being?
More or less, yes. I remember at what time we had ciruelo.
A plum tree.
Yeah, but more or less, yeah. Un ficus. We had a ficus here, where the palm tree now. But what do you say? Las raíces.
The roots.
The roots, the ficus roots are too big, so they started to add the flooring. So they cut, the ficus.
So does it feel strange living here now as an adult again? Or not really?
I feel in my house.
Right, so even though you're renting it, it actually feels like it's your house.
Yeah, I feel like always.
A childhood home.
Yeah, I feel like always. Yeah.
Thank you very much for your time. Now we know the story behind the house.
So guys, that's the end of this episode, probably a slightly lengthier one that we're used to. Thanks for watching. Oh, this little fellow here has been the cameraman for this episode. He is Gabe, he's my son. And he will probably be helping us out more and more often from now on because he likes this kind of stuff. Right? Anyway, we'll see you in the next episode, which will be soon. Bye. Bye.